All right. Hello, everyone. So let's get rolling with this, shall we? This month, we'll be going over the public address and voice evacuation system. That is the VX3000 series. With me today, I have Keith, who is our product development manager, and he'll be leading you all through the ins and outs of what the VX3000 series can provide for your facilities and applications. With next month being the much more in-depth look into specific applications, purposes, and how you can customize it however you see fit. Without further ado, I shall pass this over to Keith, and he shall lead us through the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keith. I am the product development manager here at TOA Canada. I'm happy to introduce to you today the VX3000 series. The VX3000 series is the TOA's flagship distributed PA system intended for voice evacuation and to some extent background music and other music or audio applications. So this presentation the scope of it will be mostly an introduction into the system, outlining the specific components, how the system works, and basic integration with already existing TOA products. I'll try not to go deep into the details of it. I'll give you a brief overview on a broad appreciation of the VX3000 and how can it be useful for certain applications and projects that you may encounter in the field. So the contents today, I'll go first with the system introduction, components. We'll discuss frames, modules. I'll get to define those and explain those with you. The accessories, mics and extensions, and how the power supply is handled with the VX3000, considering it's intended for redundancy and backup applications. I'll go over some frame configurations and then go with the integration with the N8000, the SP11N, and IP-A1 systems as examples. That's not the full extent of it, but those are key component or key systems that you may encounter in the field, or something similar that seeing how those integrate with the VX3000 can give you an idea of how they can work together. So, what is the VX3000? It is basically a distributed audio and control system. It is IP based, so it's full TCP/IP. That means that it works with regular switches and network structures that are already set up for general networking, for your internet and email and other applications. So it's easy to piggyback onto the existing IT network and use that as a conduit for distribution for long-distance audio and control signals. It's designed for critical systems requiring redundancy and power backup. So the VX3000 is designed with battery backup in mind, redundancies in mind, and reporting in mind. So you can configure every time there's a fault, there's fault detection in the system, and it will automatically tie, since it's already tied to the IT system, you can configure that so that you can send an email or alarm and notification should any system fail or there's a shutdown happening. It has multiple functionalities covered in one system. It has a built-in amplifier, DSP, and if you're familiar with the NX300 and NX100 IP systems, those are also readily connected. They actually use the same sampling and protocols with the VX3000. There's also a built-in message recorder, so there's no need for an external recorder for the system. And most of all, this one, the VX3000 can scale to size that you need, whether it's just a couple of channels or if you need several zones for large projects, this will work. So the best way to introduce the VX3000 is to understand and is to categorize it to several components of the system. One is the frame, which is the main chassis, which is kind of the overall framework, as it has the term frame, for the system. The modules, they are the either amplifier modules or line level output modules that could be configured depending on what you want out of the VX3000. The third category is paging mics and extensions. These are more for input input purposes. So if you have paging required, a paging mic could work. Or if you want to expand the number of inputs, say you have multiple audio sources and third-party devices that you want to use as an input to the system, you can use an extension as well. There's also system accessories for that, for the VX3000. Accessories dedicated for control. That means volume control and contact closure triggers. So if you say press a button on this accessory, it will trigger a contact closure for the remote endpoint that is programmed to it. Audio I/O can also be expanded for as needed. Finally, we'll discuss the power supply, which is the base of the VX3000, and wherein lies the heart of fall detection, power monitoring, surge protection, and other critical systems that will be useful for activities. Okay, so let's start with the frames. So the primary chassis is or known as what we call as the frame, is the one that houses the modules and facilitates IP connectivity with each other. So if you look at this small diagram on the top right-hand side, it shows the network connectivity of each frame, and they're connected with each other over the network. The frames are similar in modularity. If you're familiar with the M9000, they have a similar structure. The frames accept two types of modules. One is the amplifier module, and the other is the line level output module. So depending on the type of frame, you can configure the number of modules that you want as needed. So it can really be flexible depending on the requirement of the end user. Inputs include balanced line level audio. It takes also dry contact inputs, both for regular and emergency purposes. And the RM link, which is the paging mic connectors that is proprietary to TOA, and the DS link. The DS link is the connection that you connect to the power distributor that we'll discuss later for monitoring of the power status and fault issues. The frames are consisted of three types of frames. So each frame kind of has a different flavor and a different implementation for specific purposes. So let's start with the VX3004. This is the 4-channel frame, which is independent. So as you can see here, each channel is independent from each other, fed as needed by the matrix, which is programmable, and you can feed whichever source that you want into each frame, and then you can page. You can get the input for paging from the paging mic. The beauty of this is its function is similar to a DSP, for example, the M8080, plus a 4-channel amplifier. So it's very straightforward. 4 zones max. It can feed up to 4 zones separately without interference with each other. You can slot modules from 105 watts to 350 watts on this. So you have a wide range of flexibility, and you can use only, if you want, only 1 up to 4 channels if needed. The second type of frame is the VX3008. So the way that this frame works is quite different from the 3004, such that there's 2 separate amps functioning. One is handling the paging application, and the other is handling the background music or other audio inputs that's being fed to the system. The way this works is that there's a speaker selector, which is indicated as SS in the diagram here. And when there's an active paging happening from the paging mics or any third-party source that you can program in, it will automatically switch from the amplifier channel that's being fed by the page source from the existing channel which is being fed by the background music. So it can switch from one zone to the other. So the advantage of this is it can have much more zones. The trade-off is that your amplifiers are or your sources are quite restricted to two sources. There's a standby amp, by the way, on the there's a third amplifier module that you can insert on the frame to act as a standby module in case for the purpose of redundancy. The third type of frame is the 16-channel frame. Follows a slightly similar structure as the 8-channel frame, but now this is devoted mostly for just PA applications. Background music is omitted in this one. The beauty of this is now you're able to service up to 16 zones as long as the amplifier module that is selected is spec to the overall wattage requirement, the power requirement of the respective zones. So when there's a page happening, the matrix selects the channel that you want to page to, and then broadcast it via the amplifier to that particular zone. If there's an all call, all zones are selected and broadcast throughout the system. The trade-off here is that you forego background music in exchange for a bigger zone and a large number of zones to select. So as you can see, there's a wide range of flexibility and applications that you can consider and be more focused on the needs of the client as long as it's needed. So let's move on to the modules. So there's, as mentioned earlier, there's two types of modules for the VX3000. The first is the amplifier module, and the second is the line output module. The amplifier module is straightforward. It is basically an amplifier in a module form that you can slot into the VX3000 as needed. Up to four modules can be slotted for the 3004 type of frame. And the wattage ranges from 105 to 350 watts at 70 volts. Or if you can tap the high voltage system at 100 volts, you can take advantage of 150 watts to 590 watts power output from each module. The line level output module is a custom module for sending a line level signal out of the VX3000. Say you want to feed a recording system for your project, then you can slot a line output module on the VX3000 frame and use that to output to your third-party system. So as you can see here, you only get what you need. There's no difficulty of speccing a 8-channel amplifier for a 6-channel project, and 2 channels are not used for that purpose. You only get what you need. You can spec whatever you need, as long as you're in with the parameters of the power requirements of your project. Let's move on to the paging mics and extensions. There's 3 categories of paging mics available for the VX3000 system. One is the regular paging mic, which is the RM300. There's the RM200 fireman mic, which is dedicated for emergency use for fire departments, and the RM500, which is the newer, more compact paging mic for the VX3000. This is able to handle up to 82 zones in the system. 200X and the RM300X, you can add extenders for it to increase the zone count that you can page to in the system. The other category of components are the system accessories. The PM, VX3000 PM provides 8 audio inputs and control inputs, and also outputs, the same number of outputs to expand the capability of the VX3000 system. If you have a higher If you want to broadcast it to, say, existing amplifiers in your project, then we can add this to take advantage of that. The VX3000 CT provides 9 buttons for control, assignable in the programming for the for PA functions and either volume control for the VX3000 system. There's also knobs there for volume control that you can configure. The last and I would say the most important part of the VX3000 is, of course, the power. The beauty of the VX3000 is now you have battery backup capability built into the system using the VX3000 DS power distributor, and we recommend the Meanwell RCP1000 system from Meanwell to power the system. Each module slotted into the system has an independent power connection. It runs on 24-volt DC and is supplied by the VX3000 or is supplied by the RCP1000 Meanwell power supply distributed via the VX2000 DS. Each frame has to be supplied independently, and each module has to be also supplied independently. We designed this like that because we noticed that in the case where there's a short circuit on one of the channels, that avoids failure cascading throughout the device. So not all channels are affected, only that one channel is shut down, and there's fuse protection for it so that the power supply is protected. The VX2000 DS has the capability for fault monitoring, power monitoring, and also trickle charge any battery backup that you connect to it. It works with 24-volt batteries, which often would be 2 12-volt batteries lined up in series to supply the system in case of power failure. So let's look at some basic configurations for the 3 types of frames. As you can see here, you can configure, this is one of the small subsystems that you might encounter often in any implementation of the VX3000. You have the singular frame, the modules, 4 of them for this application. You have the remote microphone, RM300X or RM500X, or if it's only for emergency, you have the RM200 for that. And then because of the power draw of the system for this application, you can go up to 2 RCP1000 slotted into one RCP1UI, which is the power chassis we recommend for this setup. So for this, since there's a lot of modularity involved, you will need to do your power calculations for the system that as needed. Here's another configuration. For this, we're using the VX similar setup, one frame. Now we're using the VX3000F. We're using the 350-watt amplifier VX050DA, the amplifier module. If you want 2, you can get away with that. If you want 3 for redundancy as a backup standby amp, you also have that option. Similar setup, RM500 the paging microphone and the power supply. Lastly, similar to earlier, there's 2 frames now. Actually, let me correct myself. There should be 1 amplifier as a base, and then you can expand it as a standby amplifier, or thus making it 2. So this can handle up to 16 channels. Similar setup, 1 paging microphone and the power supply. Now let's move on how this can be hypothetically integrated with other TOA products and, of course, third party. If you have an N8000 system, you can connect this directly with a N8000 DI, which is a digital input output device for the N8000. If you have audio outputs from any N8000 RS, you can use the N-N8000 LC module, the line level output adapter or the N8000RS, and then send it as a line level signal, audio signal into the VX3000. And then if you have a SIP gateway, you can integrate the SIP system into this one as well. Integration with SP11N is straightforward. If you have the SP11N QRM or the external box, you can feed the audio output into the VX3000 and then feed the contact closures into the VX3000 system. Since it's just regular dry contact and audio inputs, very simple, very straightforward. Finally, the IPA1AF, the newest IP-based system from TOA. You can feed the control outputs again and line level outputs from it and use that to interface with your SIP or VoIP system and then feed that to the PA as well. So what is the general takeaway from the VX3000 system? Scalability. You can go up to large zones depending on what you need. Low wattage, multiple zones. You can customize it as much as you want. It's much easier and simpler to integrate because it's using TCP/IP. You can even actually connect them with each other over daisy chain. No need for a switch. There's some trade-offs with that, but you have the option. It's tailored for scaling. So if you have big projects, say multiple warehouses in the same complex, you can connect multiple VX3000 systems in one warehouse to the other over fiber, over your existing TCP/IP and or your LAN network. Before I end this, I forgot to mention for the engineers out there, you may be interested in this. The sampling rate of the VX3000 is 48 kilohertz at 16-bit depth. The minimum requirement is 100 megabits per second. So that's 100 base T for the networking. So it's relatively lightweight. It's okay for background music. It's not really intended for full-blown high-fidelity audio. You'll need something more like Dante for that. But if you have an application that requires okay background music, not high fidelity, then this is the system for you. So I'll open the table for questions and
Yeah, sure. So we actually got one in chat just a moment ago that we can touch on first. So question is that we have 4 amplifiers, but 2 power supply. Please explain how that provides independent power to each amp.
yes. So the 2 power supplies are fed into the VX2000DS. So the VX2000DS outputs and distributes up to 6 output power channels, each capable of feeding up to, I believe, 600 watts per channel. And from the VX2000DS, each module and chassis is fed independently from those 6 outputs. We'll actually discuss this in more detail I plan to discuss it in more detail on the next webinar. There I will be talking about speccing and in-depth discussion on the power distribution system.
So that answers the question. If there is any follow-up to that, or if there's any additional questions we'd like to get covered in this one, unless you guys want to tune back in next month, by all means as well. You can feel free to send them over in the chat or send them in the Q&A. We'll give you a couple of moments for that, and then we will move on to the giveaway that we do at the end of each of these. I'll take that as it was just a brilliant webinar. Everyone's experts now, the VX or introductory experts of the VX system. We can carry on to the next slide then. Sorry, did just get one. When do we use the IPA1?
Yes, so the IPA1, if you have an existing VoIP system or a SIP-based system, it works really well, or on-bit system, that we can use the IPA1AF as an endpoint and then use that as a bridge to connect onto the VX3000 to feed the PA system with audio and contact triggers if you need that. For the IPA1AF, you don't need one for each amplifier. You just need one feed into to any VX3000 frame, and you can program that to feed any output wherever in the system. So you can broadcast it much like how you would set up your feeds and your matrix with any DSP. Typical architecture. An example that we've worked already is actually for a big LRT system in Edmonton. So we're expanding their LRT system to another phase, and we're dealing with several far away locations from their, of course, when you're dealing with an LRT system, multiple stations far away from each other, interconnected with fiber. So each station has a frame with the necessary requisite power supply and speakers to feed to it. And they're generally programmed with each other so that they're interconnected over, I would always recommend a dedicated VLAN for this. And they're connected to each frame is connected to each other over the TC to the network system, and audio is broadcasted throughout all the stations and the service depots that are in the transit system. So that's one architecture. If you're available, I would highly recommend the next webinar, because that is where I'll discuss more detail on this, on the nitty-gritty of the VX3000 in terms of technical details. Yes, the VX3000 is all of the units are rack mountable. So I believe the frame is a 2U system and the accessories are 1U. Okay.
Go ahead. Anyways, any more questions, feel free to send them in. We're here until the very end either way. So.
And also feel free to send us any our tech support for any inquiries. We'll be happy to answer your questions.
So yeah, as I just wanted to say it on here, thank you everyone for attending today. And this is, if you ever need to reach out for us, like Keith just said, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to assist with just about any inquiries you have for any and all things TOA. And without further ado, let us get on to the part everyone's still kicking around for, a giveaway. So out of everyone all you lovely attendants, I will spin the digital wheel here and we'll see who will be walking away or leaving a call with a new set of F1000 speakers. And if I could get a digital drum roll from everyone while this spins on my screen. So the winner today, lucky winner, is Addy or 80. Apologies if I butcher your name, but yeah, you won the speakers. I'll be reaching out to you shortly after this, and we'll see where we can be sending those to. So congratulations, and thank you everyone else. Apologies that we don't have more to give away, but there's always next month and the month after that and the month after that and so on. Thank you everyone for attending today, and that will conclude this webinar on the part 1 of our VX3000 series.
Dr. Sound. TOA.